have no doubt that the issue that every person wants to hear is concerning Sowore, Omoyele Sowore. We have issued statements in the last weeks, and the statements were unambiguous. They were straight, they were direct, they were plain, and at all times we were explaining our stand on issues. That he was granted bail by the court, yes, we said we received the court order. Now, every legislative enactment and the judicial pronouncement needs to be enforced. Legislative enactments, judicial pronouncements are usually enforced. And that is why there are law enforcement agencies, operatives. The idea is that, you know, when these laws are made, they are also enforced. If Sowore was granted bail, and we said, and he was in our custody, and we said, yes, you have been granted bail. Now, do we bring Sowore at the gate and ask him to go? Is it a discharge of responsibility that we do that? What if Sowore was going on the road and he was knocked down by a car? We said, people who should take Sowore through proper documentation had not come. And they didn't come, and up till now they didn't. Rather, what some experienced persons, people who ordinarily should be respected, came out to say was that some people came and they didn't see us. And we said this and we said that. That is not true. Miscreants, protesters, and some people who were not parties, unqualified, to stand and document properly and take responsibility that Sowore had been released to them, did not come. Or those were the kind of persons we saw. So they were not the appropriate persons. And by every level of conscience, by every argument of good conscience, and I ask you, fellow Nigerians and press people, is it the right thing for those kind of persons, for us to have released Sowore to a mob? People who came and acted unruly and were fighting and forcing themselves into the facility. And that brings us to the issue of using gun on them. No gun was used on any person. No gun was used on any person. The DSS, like I said, and I will continue to say, is a very responsible organization, and it discharges its duty with utmost responsibility and accountability. We have standard operating procedures on the use of arms. So our staff couldn't have used gun on any person. Things were exaggerated. People were casting their opinions to stereotype and profile the service and put it on the path of hate. And it is not reasonable that an organization that has continued to serve you selflessly, serve Nigerians, the institutions of government, and ordinary people, that you disparage it and cast it in bad light just to push an agenda. Now, we will remain professional. And when we say that these people were not the kind of persons that should have come forward, we have continued to receive various threats on our officers, on our personnel, threats about how they will be mauled down on the streets, how they will be physically attacked. Sowore people who believe in that they can harass security officers, intimidate them, sending messages to their phones, and threatening that they will kill them, and they give them treatments that they will live to regret. But mind you, this is not personal. We are doing a job that we must do. The institution of security services or law enforcement must exist for the good of the nation. Otherwise, you can imagine what the situation or the environment will be. Now, what has made the issue of demand for sureties or reasonable persons of sureties, as a matter of fact, to come forward? If someone has stood in for Sowore, why wouldn't the person also come and take him and document properly? Documentation is imperative in the discharge of security duty. We saw what happened in the case of Nnamdi Kanu. He was granted a bail of this nature. He went under, and the social media and the public went accusing security agencies of undermining him. Some even said he was killed by the state. You and I know whether that is true or not, but it is not true that he was killed. And recent events have proved otherwise. So, how, therefore, is the DSS wrong that they said the administrative component of the judicial pronouncement that let people come forward and document properly and take possession of the man they have stood for, that responsibility is for issue of security accountability, and we stand on that. We stand on following due process. We stand on discharging our responsibility as expected. We stand to discharge our responsibility in line with international or global practices or standards. It's the same us, the press, and the public opinion that will also be against the service if anything went wrong. We are also protecting Sowore from harm by not just bringing him to the gate of our office and say, okay, go. Even Mr. Falana himself admitted that we said nobody had come, and the next day people came. And we are asking, who were the kind of persons that came? People, placard carrying people, protesters, and warmongers, people who were threatening to fight, and all of that. But the good news is that in spite of the provocations, we remained calm in the line of our training and duty. Maybe I will also have to let us know that instances of this nature, whether people chose to be in our facility or not, there are arguments in that direction too. But it's in public domain. The court at one time or the other said, we are taking, you will be remanded in Suleja or Kuje, and the suspects from Ezazaki to Sowore and all of that, they said, no, take us to DSS. And I said our facilities are good, and it's not arguable, they are good. you know, they are good. And they meet international standards of what such facilities should be, allowing them access to medical facilities, food of their choices, gymnasium. I mean, so you know there was a time that Ezazaki even disowned Falana and said he didn't want him to represent him. It's in public domain. You are aware, you know. He said, no, I don't want you to represent me. What brought about that? Now, Ibrahim Musa, the spokesperson of IMN, has been ranting, issuing his own type of statements. Was he in the court at any time? Did you know what transpired in the court? So, misinforming the people through the social media and trying to cause mayhem in the country will definitely serve no one any good. We all owe Nigeria a duty to make it survive, to make it stand, to make it stable. And that is why I once again call on members of the Fourth Estate of the Realm, gentlemen of the press, distinguished writers and pen power holders, that you support us, work with us to achieve. We are not saying don't say what is factual, but don't allow yourselves to be used to malign agencies that also protect you. You are functioning because these agencies are in place. You are able to discharge your duties because agencies like ours are in place. So you can't be tired doing what is reasonable. We call for responsive and responsible reportage. We call for dutiful and commitment to duty of your officers, because Nigeria belongs to you and all citizens. It is your duty, it is our duty to protect it. So we do not think that any person amongst us, particularly the members of the media, will allow themselves to be used to undermine Nigeria. Once again, I want to reiterate the commitment of the DSS to respect for human rights, respect for justice, respect for rule of law. Those who know him and who have followed his career path will know he's a gentleman par excellence, he's a consummate leader, and is someone who does not make trouble, and his personality bears on the attitude of the staff and indeed the service. So we can only support him to do more and do what is expected of all of us. So it is not out of place that we are asking that the reasonable and good things be done. Accountable or accountability demands that the procedures we have undertaken, the processes we are insisting must be fulfilled, are not out of order. They are expectations, they are incumbent on us to do those things. I thank you very much, and we'll take a few questions. the records are straight. Falana has not been here since this thing started. Mr. Femi Falana has not visited this office since the issue of bail started. And we have said in one of our releases that it is even more unfortunate that Falana, who is a very, and he agreed, who is a very good friend of the DG and very close to him, has not called the DG even for once on this. And on previous issues, when issues of this nature arose, Mr. Falana was always calling the DG and was in touch with him. But in this case, he chose not to, and I don't know why. The MTN is there. He said he was calling the DG and DG was not picking. It's not true. He didn't call the DG and he had not seen the DG. And the issues, or this particular issue, is sub judice. There are certain comments I may not make on this matter, but you also know that last time and even now, there is nothing that Sowore needed that we don't provide him. He has been using his phone and making contacts, and even using it to mobilize people and call for violence and call for action against the Nigerian state and call for destruction of the Nigerian entity. And when you throw a stone in the marketplace, you sure would not know on whose head it will land. Sowore has family members in Nigeria who go to local markets. He has relatives. He has uncles and sisters. If you set the fire, of course, you may not know who will get the bonds. In emphasis, Mr. Falana has not been to the SSS office of recent. Yes, Mutun, I'll come to you. Let's at the people. But your consistent story has been that we shot people. We aimed, we shot people, and yet nobody has brought any dead person to say we killed. And we did not shoot any person. We couldn't have shot citizens that we are meant to protect. We didn't use gun on anybody. It is against our internal procedures for any staff to use gun on anyone, and we didn't do that. And what was the other side of your question? You are an investigative journalist. I put it back to you, Mr. Mutun. Who are the shorties? Mr. Mutun, please, who are the shorties? But we have said, but is it wrong? Is it wrong for, if you have stood for someone and the person is to be released, to come and take responsibility for that person? We are serving Sowore, we are serving the service, we are also serving Nigeria, and we are serving you. It is ideal that we do that. It's not out of place. It is not out of place for us to insist that administrative procedures be followed in the execution of the court order. It is not out of place that we are insisting that administrative procedures are followed and adhered to in totality in the discharge or execution of the court order. Yes, please. Siphon or colleagues, is there any wounded person here?
Pepper spray on my colleague in the office. I sent you a text. He talked about partnering with the press. I sent you a text concerning it. My colleague was manhandled just in front of me. Pepper spray was sprayed on my eyes. And I expect you to address this.
Are you sure any person spray pepper spray? Your hammer time is approaching. Hammer time is approaching, you know, and the weather can be harsh and hazy. So Gentlemen, what was your...
My question is the fact that administrative procedure by the organization has to be followed. Doesn't that negate the decision?
Mr. Sifon, and your chairman has asked somebody to go and take camera from you. It is an order of your chairman, and he came to your office to take the camera. What procedures would you take? Wouldn't you document that you released the camera to him? Wouldn't you sign for you that he took the camera? What if the chairman, so these are the things we are talking about. There are procedural issues, there are processes that we have, and we have even explained this to the court. We have to say, and internationally, this is not out of place. We are a security organization. We are a responsible one for that matter. And we are operating in Nigeria. So we have to insist on global practices in the execution of our mandate. And in doing this, the administrative procedures and every other nature of process that we need to undertake and follow, we have to do that, and we must do that, and we are doing it. Yes, please. To India to seek medical attention. And you followed the drama that he turned the journey to. You saw how he behaved, why he returned, and still preferred to be kept in the SSS for proper care. And while he went to India, you are all Nigerians. You saw it. You saw everything, all the episodes, whether it's Telemundo or Nollywood, you saw it all. And Mr. Liberty, we would not fail to discharge our responsibilities at all times. That we are doing, and that will continue to do. The last question, please. No, you had asked profiling the DSS, and now you are hearing from us. For instance, Deji Adeaju said that the service offered him 1 million naira not to protest. That is cheap argument. That is cheap blackmail. It doesn't stand on reason. Why? Offer him money for what? Citizens are allowed to protest, isn't it? But within the bounds of law. Citizens must also discharge their responsibility of protest within the law. There are procedures for protest, and that was not even followed in the first instance. So, but there is one clear point we have made. We said we will not join issues with anyone, and we will not. Why should we? There is no basis to join issues with anyone, and we stand on that. But we must at all times explain our activities, because democracy demands that we do that. Democracy demands that we talk to the people through you. Democracy demands that we discharge our duties responsibly, and we are doing that. So we have been seeing commentaries, bashings here and there, but does it make any sense? Now that we are being professional, does it make sense that we are dedicated to our duty? Does it make sense that people are criticizing us and calling for our heads for insisting that the right thing be done? Like I have asked Sifon, and the analogy I drew about his camera and the directive of his boss. If someone someone is sent by your boss to come and collect your camera from you, and even if he spoke to you, Mr. Sifon, I ask you, what should be your duty in the release of the camera? Are you not supposed to document the person, know the person who has come to take the camera? This is what we are asking for. Documentation, proper documentation, right process, right procedure, be done. And people are twisting it, bringing all manners of colorations into it, trying to either politicize it or make it look like we are stubborn, we are hesitant, we are this, we are... No, it's not. We are not. We respect rules of the court, we respect orders of the court, and we have not said, there was never a time the DG or the service said they were not going to release Sowore. There was never a time. We acknowledge, yes, we received the order. Yes, since we received it, nobody had come. And the next day, protesters besieged the place. So we should release Sowore to a mob, unknown persons, an amorphous crowd? No, of course. We have gone beyond that as a professional organization. And this is our stand. Yes, please. Last question. Yes. Thank you. And thank you for coming. Journalists and attack them. Nobody did. Nobody. We couldn't have molested journalists. They are our friends. A good number of you here. A good number of you here are my friends and friends of the service and Nigerians. And whatever that is a source of conflict between us can always be resolved, not in a place like this. And anything that will bring about disunity and disharmony, we will not toe such lines. We have tremendous, let me tell you something, we have tremendous respect for journalists. Any of us could have been one. We are pursuing different careers. You could have been in my place the way I could also have been a journalist. So that you are doing yours and I'm doing mine, we have to find a common ground, a point of convergence, and pursue that order and stability that Nigeria needs for good ethno-religious relationship, social harmony, and all of that. And I'm in touch with the NUJ, and whatever that are misgivings of journalists, we can always sort them out. And I call on you to continue to support us, just like we'll also... Several journalists have also called me that they have one challenge or the other concerning their safety, and we respond as quickly as we can. So the relationship should be symbiotic. There is no need for us to engage in conflicts while we are pursuing the same aim. Thank you very much and have a very good day.